Rain fell like shattered glass against the cafe window, slicing the late afternoon light into trembling ribbons. She sat alone by the glass, eyes flicking between her phone and the door, as if waiting for something or someone to save her from herself. "Another refill?" the barista asked gently, eyeing the half-drunk cappuccino that had gone cold an hour ago. She nodded without looking up. "Sure. Maybe a splash of hope, too, if you've got that on the menu." The barista chuckled awkwardly and left. She sighed. Her reflection in the glass looked exhausted, the kind of tired that sleep didn't fix. Her name was Lila Carver, 32, ambitious, brilliant, and quietly unraveling. Her promotion interview at Haven Group was in 3 days. Everything she'd worked for, everything she'd sacrificed, hung in the balance. And yet, here she was, hiding from a man who once promised her forever. The phone buzzed again. She didn't have to look to know it was him. "Lila, please, don't do this. We can talk." The message flashed on screen, cruelly soft. She swallowed hard, thumb hovering over the reply. Then she deleted the conversation instead. A deep voice broke through the storm of her thoughts. "Seat taken." She looked up and froze. A man stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, with a kind of quiet authority that didn't have to announce itself. His hair was damp from the rain, his dark coat dripping onto the tiled floor. In his arms, a little girl, no older than 6, clung to his neck, her curls matted, cheeks flush pink. "Sorry," Lila murmured. "I didn't." He smiled faintly, shifting the girl's weight. "No worries. Just looking for a dry corner. Mind if we share the table?" Something in his voice, low, warm, steady, cut through the static in her head. She gestured to the empty chair. "Go ahead." He sat across from her, setting the little girl down on the bench beside him. The child immediately reached for a cookie, her small fingers leaving powdery crumbs on the table. "Thanks," he said quietly. "She insisted we come here. Says this place has the best chocolate chips in the universe." "Smart kid," Lila said, smiling despite herself. "I'm Evan," he offered, wiping the rain from his jaw. "And this troublemaker's Maya." Lila nodded. "Nice to meet you both." He leaned back, studying her, not in a way that felt invasive, but curious, observant. "You look like someone who's trying really hard to pretend she's fine." The words hit harder than she expected. "That obvious." He shrugged. "Only to people who know the look." "Divorced?" she asked before she could stop herself. "Widowed," he replied simply. Silence. It wasn't pity that filled it. It was something softer, human, mutual. Lila looked at Maya, who was now humming to herself, crumbs everywhere. Then back at Evan. His eyes, gray, stormy, almost too steady, held a calm that felt like shelter. She didn't know what possessed her to say it next. Maybe the ache of being seen. Maybe desperation. Maybe the cruel coincidence that her ex-boyfriend and his new fiancée were having their engagement dinner tonight, in the same city, in the same social circle she couldn't escape. "Evan," she blurted suddenly, "I know this is insane, but could you pretend to be my boyfriend for a day?" His brow lifted. "I'm sorry, what?" She laughed nervously, fingers twisting around her cup. "There's this dinner tonight. My ex will be there. He cheated on me with my boss, actually, and I just can't face them alone." He stared at her for a long moment, rain still drumming against the glass. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. "You want me to fake date you to make him jealous?" "No, not jealous," she said quickly. "I just want him to see that I'm fine, that I've moved on, that he didn't break me." Evan studied her again, this time more deeply. "You don't seem like the kind of woman who needs pretending." Her throat tightened. "You'd be surprised." For a moment, it seemed like he might refuse. Then Maya tugged on his sleeve, whispering, "Daddy, can we help her?" She looked sad. Lila's breath caught. "Daddy." Evan's jaw flexed slightly, but he nodded. "Looks like you've got yourself a fake boyfriend." She laughed, too quickly, too gratefully. "Thank you. I'll owe you. Big time." "You don't owe me anything," he said, But if we're doing this, you should know I'm terrible at pretending. That night, everything blurred into motion. She met him outside the Mirador Hotel, where the engagement dinner glowed behind glass walls, music, champagne, people in glittering clothes. Lila wore a deep emerald dress that clung to her curves and masked her shaking hands. Evan arrived in a charcoal suit. Maya left home with a sitter. The man who entered that lobby with it didn't look like a struggling single dad. He looked like someone carved from Control. When he placed his hand on the small of her back, she felt electricity shoot through her spine. His body was warm, his presence anchoring. Heads turned as they walked in. Hayes, his everyone's. And then, at the center table, her ex looked up. Colin. His smile faltered. His fiancée, her former boss, Rebecca, tilted her head, curious, predatory. Lila, you made it. I did, she said smoothly, looping her arm through Evan's. This is Evan. My boyfriend, Evan finished for her, offering a confident smile that didn't waver even as Colin's jaw tightened. The dinner unfolded like a play. Every word, every look, every fake laugh felt like walking a tightrope. But Evan, he played the part with unnerving ease, charming, polite, effortlessly magnetic. People leaned toward him, drawn by that quiet authority. What Lila didn't notice, what she couldn't possibly know, was that every whispered question about him, every curious glance, was being noted by more than just curious guests. Because Evan wasn't who he seemed. He wasn't a struggling single father scraping by. He was Evan Hale, founder and CEO of Hale Dynamics, the same tech company that had just partnered with Haven Group, the same company Colin worked for, the same man whose signature could make or break careers, including hers. And when his hand lingered on her waist as Colin watched with thinly veiled fury, something dark flickered in Evan's eyes. Not performance, not pretend, possession. The dinner table gleamed under crystal chandeliers, each flicker a light bouncing off silver cutlery like sharp secrets waiting to be told. Lila sat beside Evan, spine straight, heartbeat misbehaving. She'd told herself this was a harmless little lie, a night to pretend. But the moment she saw Colin's hand brush Rebecca's thigh under the tablecloth, her chest ached like something had clawed its way out. Lila, Rebecca said with that brittle, polished smile, "You look radiant. We were just talking about the upcoming Haven partnership. Evan Hale, isn't it?" Evan's hand stilled around his wine glass. "You know my name." Rebecca laughed. "Who doesn't? Hale Dynamics is practically the backbone of the project. I just didn't realize you were." "Lila's Evan." Lila blinked. "Lila's Evan." The words burned strangely sweet and terrifying. Colin shifted in his seat, jaw tight. "Small world," he said curtly. "Yes," Evan murmured, eyes never leaving him. "Very small." Lila forced a smile, trying to breathe through the tension threading the air. "We, met at the cafe near the river. Total accident. Long story." Rebecca leaned closer. "Well, accidents can be lucrative, can't they?" Something about her tone, the way her gaze lingered on Evan, set Lila's skin crawling. She could feel Evan's thumb move slightly against her hand under the table, a reassuring motion that both grounded and unsettled her. The waiter poured wine. Conversation swirled. Lila tried to lose herself in meaningless chatter about new restaurant openings and investment rumors. But Evan's silence grew heavier, his attention drifting between Colin and Rebecca like he was measuring them. When Colin excused himself to take a call, Evan's voice dropped low. "That's a man who cheated on you." Lila nodded once. Evan leaned back, eyes shadowed. "And she, your boss, were the other half." Her throat tightened. "Yes. He was supposed to propose to me the night I found them." "How?" "Wrong text. Right time." She smiled bitterly. "He sent me a message meant for her. I followed the address. Walked in on, well, everything." Evan's jaw ticked. For a second she thought he'd say something sympathetic, but instead he said, "You still love him." The words hit like a slap. "What?" "You wouldn't be here, trying to prove you've moved on, if you didn't." She glared. "You don't know me." "No," he said quietly, "but I know what it looks like when someone tries and convince themselves they're fine." Something in her broke then. The mask, the poise. She looked away, blinking hard. I just want to feel like I matter again. He said nothing, just reached for his glass, eyes storm-gray and unreadable. Colin returned, forcing a grin. So, Evan, what do you do? Lila tensed. Evan's lips curved faintly. I build things. Construction. Something like that, he said smoothly, deflecting. Rebecca raised a brow. Come now. You can't sit at a table full of corporate sharks and expect to stay mysterious. Evan's gaze turned razor-sharp for half a heartbeat before softening again. Let's just say I help people find better ways to connect. A polite chuckle passed around the table. Lila exhaled. Crisis averted. For now. But Rebecca wasn't done. You know, she purred, Haven's considering a merger with Hale Dynamics soon. My fiancée might even lead that project. Maybe you two should talk purely business. Evan smiled. Small, dangerous. Maybe we already have. Lila froze. What? Rebecca blinked. Excuse me. Emails. Meetings. Negotiations. You'll hear about it soon, Evan said casually, like he hadn't just detonated a silent bomb. Colin's face paled. Lila caught the flicker, the panic behind his polished composure. Something about Evan's tone wasn't bluff. He wasn't joking. After dinner, as the group drifted toward a balcony for cigars and dessert wine, Lila tugged Evan aside. What was that? She hissed. What was what? That line about emails and negotiations. You're not actually. He looked at her, expression unreadable. You really don't know, do you? Know what? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and handed her his card. The gold lettering caught the light. Evan Hale, CEO, Hale Dynamics Group. Her stomach dropped. You! Surprise, he said softly. Still want me to pretend? The sound of rain outside filled the silence between them, relentless, cold, almost mocking. She stared at him, mind racing. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have asked me to play boyfriend if I had? No, but this is insane. Relax, Lila. He leaned in, voice of velvet threat. Your secret's safe. Tonight stays the night. Except it's not just a night, she whispered. You're tied to Haven, to them. I was before you walked into that cafe. Her pulse thundered. So what? This was all a coincidence. He hesitated. Too long. If you believe in coincidence. The air between them thickened with something darker than attraction. Fear. Suspicion. An edge of something she didn't have words for. Rebecca's laughter floated from a balcony. Colin's voice followed, low and tense. Evan's eyes flicked toward the sound. They are hiding something, he murmured. Lila frowned. What are you talking about? He turned back to her. Your ex and your boss. That merger they mentioned? It's more than business. Someone inside Haven's been leaking proprietary code to a competitor. My company's competitor. Colin's been on the short list for internal review. Her breath caught. You think? I think your ex might be involved, he said quietly, and tonight just confirmed it. The floor felt like it tilted beneath her feet. So you came here not for me. I came because you asked. He cut in. But maybe we were both looking for more than we admitted. She searched his face for a lie, found none, and yet didn't trust him either. You used me. No, he said, voice low. I protected you. You just don't see from what yet. Before she could reply, Colin approached, expression taut. Lila, a word. Evan's shoulders straightened. We'll talk later, he murmured, stepping aside. Lila followed Colin toward the hallway lined with framed art and silent waiters. He turned to her the moment they were alone. What are you doing, bringing him here? Her arms folded. You mean my boyfriend? Cut it out, Lila. You don't know who you're dealing with. Apparently neither do you, she shot back. He grabbed her wrist. Too hard. He's dangerous. Let go. You have no idea what that man is capable of. His eyes flicked nervously toward the dining room. He's not who you think. He's playing you. He's been digging around Haven for months. Rebecca's terrified. The whole way spun around her. Terrified of what? Of losing everything. Lila jerked free. Maybe she should have thought of that before sleeping with someone else's boyfriend. He flinched. This isn't about us anymore. Lila, you're in over your head. A voice behind them cut through the charged silence. Funny, Evan said from the shadows. That's exactly what I was about to tell you. Colin froze. Evan stepped closer, every inch of him calm, controlled, lethal. You've got one more chance to tell the truth. Colin, who's paying you to sell our designs? Lila's breath hitched. Colin's face drained of color. You're insane. Evan's eyes never blinked. Then prove it. The hallway felt like a battlefield now. 3 hearts, 1 secret. 1,000 lies thick in the air. When Rebecca's voice called for Colin from the dining room, he backed away. You don't know what you've started, Hale. Evan watched him go, then turned to Lila. His mask cracked, just slightly. Now you see why I didn't want to tell you who I was. Lila swallowed hard. You're using me to get to him. He met her eyes. Maybe. But tell me, Lila, why does it bother you so much if it was all pretend? Her answer got lost somewhere between anger and something dangerously close to longing, because the truth she couldn't admit, not even to herself, was that somewhere between the lies and the rain, pretending had started to feel real. Lila didn't remember how the dinner ended, only the glances. The suspicious ones from Rebecca, the furious ones from Colin, and the unreadable ones from Evan, who'd switch back into perfect composure as if the hallway confrontation had never happened. By the time they stepped outside, rain had thinned into a soft drizzle. Street lights shimmered across puddles, and the city hummed with quiet deceit. Lila. Evan's voice was low, careful. She didn't stop walking. Don't. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain, she said, wrapping her arms around herself. You used me as a cover. You knew Colin was dirty. You knew who I was connected to. I didn't know about you, he said sharply. Not until the cafe. And after that, I saw an opportunity, she finished bitterly. He exhaled, rain beating along his jaw. You're angry. You should be. But you're wrong about one thing. What's that? I didn't fake everything. The word stopped her. For a second, the night seemed to hold its breath. She turned slowly. You expect me to believe that? His eyes softened, though his body stayed tense, disciplined. You're not the first person to get caught in someone else's mess. But you might be the first who made me care about it. Lila's law cracked. Don't do that. Don't make this some tragic hero speech. You lied, Evan. You're still lying. I told you the truth when it mattered. No, she said, stepping closer, voice trembling with fury and heartbreak. You told me when it was convenient. For a moment, neither spoke. Rain whispered down around them, washing over their silence. Finally, he said, let me drive you home. I can call a cab. Lila. I said no. He hesitated, then nodded once, jaw tight. Then at least don't go back to your apartment. Not tonight. Her heart stuttered. What? Colin's not done. He knows I'm on to him. And if Rebecca's involved, she'll cover her tracks, maybe through you. They'll make it look like you're part of it. That's insane. Is it? He asked quietly. You work under her. Your login credentials. Your email access. If the leak continues after tonight, who do you think they'll blame? The reality of it hit like cold wind. Her breath caught. You're saying they'll frame me. I'm saying they already are. Lila backed away. You're manipulating me again. If I wanted to manipulate you, he said evenly, I wouldn't warn you. Something in his tone, steady, almost pleading beneath the control, unraveled her resistance. She wanted to believe him. God help her. She did. But she couldn't trust anyone anymore. Not Colin. Not Rebecca. And certainly not the man who'd walked into her life pretending to be a stranger. She whispered, You said pretending wasn't your thing. His lips curved sadly. I lied. Then he turned and walked away, leaving her alone under the flickering streetlight, heart pounding in the hollow where trust used to live. The next morning, Sunlight fell foreign. Too bright. Too honest. Lila's head throbbed with fragments of last night. The confrontation. The confession. The warning. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. 2 missed calls from HR. 1 email flagged urgent. She opened it with a sick feeling. Subject: immediate inquiry. Data breach investigation. Lila, your credentials were used to access confidential project files late last night. Please report to conference room B at 9 a.m. for questioning. Haven security team. Her pulse spiked. 9 o'clock, that was in 30 minutes. She stared at the screen, disbelief morphing into terror. It couldn't be real. She hadn't touched her work laptop in 2 days. Someone had used her credentials, exactly like Evan warned. She dressed in a haze, grabbed her keys, and drove across the city. The closer she got to the Haven Tower, the heavier her chest felt. When she entered the sleek glass lobby, security guards were waiting. Ms. Carver, one said politely, "This way, please." She followed them to a sterile conference room where 2 men in suits sat waiting, company investigators. Their expressions were professional, detached, and devastatingly final. "Lila," the older one began, "your account acts as encrypted prototype documents at 11:42 p.m. last night. Files later transmitted to an unknown external IP." Her throat closed. "That's impossible. I was home." The younger man slid a printed log toward her. "These are the records. Can you explain this activity?" She shook her head, panic rising. "No. Someone must have. Stolen your credentials." "Yes. Maybe Rebecca." "Rebecca Stone," the older man interrupted sharply. "Your direct supervisor." Lila hesitated. "Yes. She and her fiancé." "We'll ask the questions," he said smoothly, cutting her off. Her mind spiraled. The entire setup was too clean, too precise. Whoever did this had planned it long before last night. And the worst part was, she didn't know if Evan had known or orchestrated it himself. By noon, she was suspended pending investigation. No access to her systems, no pay until review. She sat in her car in the underground parking lot, shaking, staring at the suspension letter like it belonged to someone else. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She answered shakily. "Hello." "Lila." Evan's voice. Controlled, urgent. "Don't call me. You've been suspended." She froze. "How do you know that?" "I have contacts at Haven." "Of course you do," she snapped. "Was that part of your plan, too?" "Listen to me," he said, and for once, his voice cracked. "This wasn't me, but it's exactly what I warned you about. You think I believe you after. They're moving fast. Too fast. Someone's panicking. You need to get out of town until I clear this." "Out of town? Are you out of your mind?" "You're not safe there," he said. "I can prove what happened, but I need time. Please, Lila." The desperation in his voice was real, too real. She closed her eyes, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles went white. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. There was a long pause. Then, softly, "Because pretending stopped the moment I saw you in that cafe." Her heart betrayed her by breaking a little. "Where do I go?" she asked finally. He exhaled in relief. "There's a safe house in Rivermount, about 2 hours north. I'll send you the address. Don't tell anyone where you're going. And if this is a trap." "Then I guess you'll find out," he said quietly. "But if you stay, they'll destroy you." The line went dead. Lila sat there, trembling, staring at the rain streaking down her windshield. The same rain that had brought him into her life. The same rain that now blurred the line between trust and betrayal. She had no reason to trust him. Every instinct screamed to stay put, to call a lawyer, to run from everyone. And yet, somewhere beneath the wreckage of fear and fury, something deeper whispered that he might be telling the truth. By dusk, she was on the highway heading north, her headlights slicing through mist and uncertainty. Every mile felt heavier. Every thought of him hurt more. But when she finally reached the darkened cabin at Rivermount and stepped inside, one thing became clear. She wasn't alone. A faint light glowed from the next room. A man's silhouette moved behind the glass. And when he turned, Slowly, deliberately, her blood ran cold. It wasn't Evan. It was Colin. Lila froze in the doorway, her pulse thundering in her ears. "Colin," she whispered, the name barely making it past her lips. He stepped into the light, rain-damp hair, coat slung over one arm, eyes hollow and restless. "You shouldn't have come here." Her stomach twisted. "You're the one who... Wait, how did you even find this place?" He exhaled hard, running a hand through his hair. "Because it's my cabin." Her heart stumbled. "Yours." "Used to be," he muttered, "before I signed it over to Haven for off-site security retreats. Guess they forgot to tell you that part." Lila stayed, mind spinning. "So, what? You were waiting for me." "I was hoping I'd get here first," he said quietly. "Before he did." Her throat closed. "Evan." He nodded. "You think he's your savior. Lila, he's not. He's been playing you since the day you met." Her chest tightened. "You already told me that." "And you didn't listen." "Because you have every reason to lie," she snapped. "You cheated on me, Colin. You wrecked my life." He flinched, his guilt flashing like a wound. "Yeah, I did. I won't defend it. But this, what's happening now, is bigger than that. He's not who you think he is." She crossed her arms, voice shaking. "He's Evan Hale, CEO of Hale Dynamics. You said it yourself." Colin gave a sharp laugh. "Right, but you don't know which Hale Dynamics." "What are you talking about?" He moved closer, his voice lowering. "The company split years ago. Officially it's one branch, tech innovation, AI systems, partnerships with Haven. But off the books." He looked around the dark room, as if the walls could listen. "There's another division, private contracts, surveillance algorithms, digital blackmail systems." She blinked, disbelief and dread colliding. "You're saying his, what? Spying?" "His buying people," Lila, Colin hissed. "Their data, their weaknesses, their secrets. He uses them. That's what he wanted from Haven. Not partnership, control. And you were his entry point." The words hit like a cold wave. Her knees felt weak. "You're lying." "I wish I was." Her mind reeled through every interaction. The cafe, the way he seemed to know her without asking, how easily he'd found out about the suspension before anyone else. The protective warnings, the calculated silences. "No," she whispered. "He saved me." Colin's gaze softened. "Pitying. Did he? Or did he just make sure you needed saving?" The sound of tires crunching outside cut him off. Headlights flashed across the cabin wall. Colin's eyes widened. "Here's he." Lila's breath caught. "You're sure?" He didn't answer. He just grabbed her wrist. "We have to go. Now." But it was too late. The front door creaked open. Evan stood in the frame, soaked from the rain, his expression carved from ice. "You really shouldn't have come here, Lila." Her body went rigid. "You said it was safe." He stepped inside, closing the door with quiet finality. It was, until he showed up. Colin moved in front of her. "You're not taking her anywhere." Evan's eyes flicked between them. "Still lying for them, I see." "You're one to talk," Colin spat. "You framed her." "I protected her." "By ruining her career." "She was collateral," Evan said coldly, and Lila's heart cracked. "Until I realized she didn't deserve it." The two men circled each other like wolves, both dangerous, both wounded. Lila's voice broke through the storm. "Stop it, both of you. I'm done being your pawn." They ignored her. "You think you're the hero, Hale?" Colin sneered. "You're worse than anyone at Haven. You build your empire on secrets and call it strategy. And you sell those secrets for cash," Evan shot back. "You're the reason Haven's system is compromised in the first place." Colin's jaw clenched. "You can't prove that." "I already did." Evan tossed a small flash drive onto the table. It clattered like a gunshot. "Your bank transfers. Your encrypted chats with Zenith Corporation. Every file traces back to your ID." Lila's breath hitched. Zenith, Haven's biggest competitor. Colin's face drained of color. Evan's voice was steel. You were feeding them our code for months, using her credentials. Lila felt the world tilt. So he did frame me. Yes, Evan said softly, and Rebecca helped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Colin glared at Evan. You think you've won? You expose me, and Haven collapses. You'll lose your leverage, your deals, everything. Maybe, Evan said, but I'll sleep better. The moment shattered when Colin lunged. The two men crashed into the table, with splintering beneath the weight of betrayal and rage. The flash drive skidded under a chair. Lila screamed, trying to pull them apart, but they were locked in a brutal struggle. Fists, grunts, chaos. Stop, she cried. Stop it, both of you. Colin shoved Evan back, snatching a glass shard from the broken table. His voice shook. You don't get it. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice, Evan growled, blood streaking his cheek. They threatened Rebecca. That stopped everything. Lila blinked, panting. What? Colin's eyes glistened with desperate truth. Zenith, they found out about us. Said if I didn't send the data, they'd ruin her, destroy her company, her career. I thought I could stop it before it got this far. Evan's expression faltered, just slightly. You still sold out an entire project. I was trying to protect her, Colin said hoarsely. The same way you're pretending to protect Lila. The words landed heavy. Evan's jaw tightened. Lila stared at both of them, feeling like the ground had dissolved beneath her feet. All this time, you both lied, and I was just a cover story. Lila, Evan began. No, she shouted. You warned me about betrayal while you built your life on it. He took a step toward her, but she backed away. You said pretending stopped the day we met. That was another lie, wasn't it? His silence answered for him. Her eyes burned. You're both poison. Different kinds, same result. Colin lowered the shard, his face crumpling. Lila, please. You have to believe me. Zenith's not done. They'll come after anyone connected to this, including you. She didn't care anymore. She grabbed her coat, tears streaking hot down her cheeks. I'm done being scared. Evan tried to block the door. Lila, don't go out there. She met his eyes, those same gray eyes that had once felt like safety, and whispered, You don't get to tell me what's safe anymore. Then she stepped into the rain, the storm swallowing her whole. Behind her, voices rose, accusations turned to shouts, and somewhere in the chaos, she heard glass break again, followed by silence. Only later, as she drove through the black road twisting down the mountain, did her phone buzz with one last message from an unknown number. It's not over. You were never just collateral. The message vanished before she could reply. And as the first police siren began to echo faintly in the distance, Lila realized she wasn't sure who they were coming for, Colin, Evan, or her. The next morning, sunlight crept across the dashboard of Lila's car, slicing through the fog that had settled over the mountains. She hadn't slept. Her hands were trembling around the steering wheel, her throat raw from crying, her mind an endless loop of the fight, the lies, and that final message, you were never just collateral. She parked in a gas station lot off Highway 9, trying to breathe, but the silence was unbearable. Every passing car made her flinch. Her phone was dead, but her thoughts weren't. They screamed inside her skull. Colin's confession, Evan's deception, Rebecca's betrayal. She felt like every piece of her life had been peeled away until nothing was left but nerves and noise. Coffee? A voice asked. Lila looked up to see a man in a police uniform holding out a paper cup. His badge read Miller. You've been sitting here for an hour, he said gently. Thought you could use something warm. She blinked, forcing a smile. Thanks. Sorry, I just needed to think. He studied her. You coming from the cabins? Her pulse spiked. Why? Dispatch sent units up there last night. Some kind of altercation. 2 men, one possibly injured. You didn't happen to see anything, did you? She swallowed hard, fingers tightening around the cup. No, I left before anything happened. He nodded slowly, but didn't look convinced. If you remember anything, call this number. He handed her a card, then walked back to his cruiser. The moment he was gone, Lila's mask broke. 2 men, one possibly injured. Her chest ached. Was one of them? She shook her head. No, she couldn't go back. Not yet. Instead, she drove straight to the only place that still felt remotely Hayes, her small apartment in the city. But when she unlocked the door, she froze again. Someone had been there. The air smelled faintly of cologne. Evans. And the framed photos she'd taken down weeks ago were neatly arranged back on the shelf. On the kitchen counter sat a single envelope, her name written in his handwriting. Lila tore it open. Inside was a folded letter and a keycard with a black and gold crest. Lila, if you're reading this, it means you left before I could explain. I'm sorry for that. What Colin said is partly true, but not all of it. There are people inside both Haven and Zenith who don't want the truth to surface. What happened at the cabin was not a coincidence. I need your help to finish what we started. If you still trust me, use this keycard tonight at the Meridian Tower, level 32. If you don't, destroy it. Please, be careful. E. She stood there, heart pounding. Trust him? After everything? She should have thrown it away. But she didn't. By the time dusk fell, she found herself standing in front of Meridian Tower, a sleek glass monolith gleaming above the city skyline. Her reflection stared back at her in the revolving doors, tired, anxious, but burning with something new. Resolve. The lobby was silent except for the hum of soft jazz and the whisper of air conditioning. The keycard worked instantly. The elevator climbed without stopping, her reflection flickering in the mirrored walls. When the doors opened on level 32, she stepped into a vast, dimly lit conference suite. A wall of glass overlooked the city lights. And Evan was there. His suit was disheveled, his arm bandaged. He looked older somehow, wearier, but those eyes still carried the same piercing focus. Lila. His voice was low, almost cautious. You came. I shouldn't have, she said. Probably not. They stood in silence for a long beat. Finally, she asked, What happened at the cabin? He exhaled. His gone. Her stomach dropped. Gone? You mean? I don't know. Evan cut in. He ran. When the sirens came, he disappeared into the woods. The police found blood, but no body. He's out there somewhere. Lila's knees felt weak. And you didn't tell them the truth. I couldn't. Why? He stepped closer. Because the truth would get you killed. Her voice trembled. Stop talking in riddles. He opened a laptop on the conference table. Lines of encrypted data scrolled across the screen, columns of code, timestamps, hidden transfers. These are Zenith shadow logs, he said. Proof they've been siphoning Haven systems through Colin's access points. But there's more. They've been monitoring you, too. Your messages, your emails, your personal files. She stared at the screen, horror spreading like ice. Why? They wanted leverage, he said, to make sure Colin kept cooperating. You were his insurance policy. Lila backed away, shaking her head. No, you said I was safe. I tried to keep you that way, he said quietly. I bought time. I made deals I shouldn't have. What deals? He hesitated. With Rebecca. Her heart dropped again. Rebecca? She's the reason I was fired. She's also the only person who knows how to take Zenith down, Evan said. But she won't move unless she thinks you'll forgive her. Lila laughed bitterly. Forgive her? She ruined me. She saved your life, he countered. The day you were supposed to be arrested for data theft, she deleted the report. She made it look like a suspension. If she hadn't, Zenith would have gotten what they wanted, you in their control. Lila staggered, her world spinning. Why would she do that? Because she loved him, Evan said softly. Colin. He nodded. He thought he was protecting her. She thought she was protecting you. And he stopped. I thought I was fixing everything. Turns out I was just making it worse. The city lights flickered below, painting his face in fractured gold and shadow. What do you want from me, Evan? She whispered. Help me expose them, he said, before they destroy anyone else. And then what? You disappear again. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. No, I stay. If you'll let me. Something in her chest cracked. Anger, grief, longing, all tangled together. You had every chance to tell me the truth, she said. Instead, you let me fall. I didn't want you in this mess. But I am, she said, and maybe I deserve to know why you really helped me that day in the cafe. He met her gaze. Because I recognized you. What? You were in a photo, he said quietly, on Colin's desk, months ago, before any of this started. He said you were the only person who ever believed in him. Lila's breath caught. So when I saw you that day, Evan continued, I thought if I helped you, maybe I could undo something I didn't even understand yet. Silence pressed between them, thick with things unsaid. Then a sound broke it, the elevator chime. Evan's expression changed instantly. We're not alone. The lights flickered once, and from the darkness beyond the glass wall, a familiar voice echoed. You should have stayed gone, Hale. Colin stepped into view, pale, blood-streaked, and holding gun. The metallic click of the gun tore through the air, sharp and echoing. Lila froze, her pulse spiking like a live wire. Colin stepped forward from the elevator's shadow, rainwater still clinging to his coat, blood drying at his temple. His once charming smile was gone, replaced by something feral, unrecognizable. Put it down, Evan said quietly, his hand raising, calm but ready. Colin laughed, a jagged, humorless sound. You don't get to give me orders anymore, Mr. Hale. Not after what you did. Lila's eyes darted between them, confusion and terror clashing in her chest. Colin, please. He cut her off. No, don't say my name like that. You think I don't see it? The way you look at him? You've known him for what, 2 days? And suddenly you're playing savior. Her voice shook. You cheated on me, Colin. You lied to me. What did you expect me to do? His hand trembled slightly, but he steadied it. You don't understand. I didn't cheat because I stopped loving you. I did it because I had to. Evan's tone hardened. Don't you dare justify it. Colin's glare shifted. You think you're better than me? You're the reason all of this started. You built the system they used. You created the backdoor Zenith exploited. You're the reason she was a target in the first place. Evan's jaw tightened. I built the firewall. They broke it. Don't twist it. Oh, but that's what you're good at, isn't it? Colin spat, twisting things, pretending to be the good guy while everyone around you bones. He turned back to Lila. Ask him, Lila, ask him what happened to his wife. Lila's breath hitched. She looked at Evan, really looked, and for the first time saw something in his eyes that wasn't control or calm. It was pain, ancient, buried, and raw. Evan, she whispered. He didn't answer. Colin sneered. He won't tell you, because the truth ruins his little story. His wife didn't die in an accident. She died because of him, because of Hale dynamics, because of the same kind of deal he made with Rebecca to protect you. Evan's voice was a low growl. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough, Colin snapped. You built a prototype for Zenith years ago, didn't you? Before you turned on them. The encryption key, the one they used to breach Haven. That was your creation. The words landed like a blow. Lila staggered back. Evan, is that true? He looked at her, guilt flickering like lightning behind his steady facade. It was a mistake. I was trying to protect people. I thought I could control how it was used. But you couldn't, Colin said. And people died, including her. The silence that followed was suffocating. Lila's mind reeled. Flashes of every moment they'd shared, every kindness, every steady touch. All of it now tangled with a shadow she hadn't seen coming. Put the gun down, Colin, Evan said, stepping slightly forward. This isn't how you fix it. Fix it? Colin barked out a laugh. There's no fixing this. I lost everything. You get to play the hero. She gets to be the victim. And I'm the villain? No, not this time. He aimed the gun directly at Evan. You took my career, my reputation, my life. So I'm taking yours. Don't. Lila said desperately, moving between them. "Please, Colin, don't do this. You're not a killer." He looked at her, eyes glistening with something fractured, almost childlike. "You don't know what I'm anymore." Then, a movement, too fast to think. The gun went off. The sound cracked through the room like a thunderclap. Lila screamed. Evan stumbled back, clutching his shoulder, blood blooming through his sleeve. Colin's eyes widened, not in satisfaction, but in horror. The gun trembled in his grip. "Oh, God," he whispered. "I didn't." Evan lunged forward, tackling him. The gun clattered across the floor. Both men crashed into the glass wall, a deafening shatter echoing as spiderweb cracks raced across the pane. "Stop it!" Lila cried, rushing toward them. But the fight had already turned brutal, primal. Colin swung wildly, landing a blow to Evan's ribs. Evan retaliated, slamming him against the frame. They were both bleeding, both panting, both consumed by something far beyond revenge. "You destroyed everything." Colin roared. "I tried to save you." Evan shot back. "Liar." "Maybe," Evan hissed, "but at least I'm still trying." With a final shove, Colin's back hit the broken glass. It gave way. For a heartbeat, everything slowed, the air heavy, sound dissolving into silence. Then Colin was gone. Lila screamed again as a night swallowed him, the city lights flickering below. Evan dropped to his knees, chest heaving, blood seeping through his shirt. Lila stood frozen, her hands shaking uncontrollably. The world tilted, reality bending into chaos. He fell," she whispered. "Evan, you—" "I didn't mean to," he rasped, wincing in pain. "He slipped?" Sirens wailed somewhere below, growing louder, closer. Lila's gaze darted toward the shattered glass, then back to him. "We have to go." "I can't," he said weakly. "They'll think—" "They'll think you killed him," she cried. "Come on." She pulled his arm over her shoulder, helping him to his feet. Together, they staggered toward the emergency exit. Alarms blared now, red lights flashing across the hall. When they finally burst onto the rooftop, the wind hit them hard, sharp and cold. The helicopter pads glistened under the rain. Evan collapsed against the railing, clutching his side. "Leave me." "Not a chance," Lila said fiercely. "You don't understand," he gasped. "If they find me, everything ends. The files, the proof, all of it dies with me." "Then tell me how to find them." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small USB drive. "Everything you need is here, if you give it to the right people." "Don't talk like you're not coming," she snapped. He smiled faintly, rain streaming down his face. "You're stronger than you think, Lila." Before she could reply, a spotlight cut through the storm, police choppers circling above. A voice shouted over a megaphone, "Step away from the ledge. Hands where we can see them." Lila raised her hands instinctively. Evan didn't move. "Evan." He looked at her one last time. "Trust me." Then he stepped backward, into the darkness. "And no," she screamed, lunging forward. But he was gone. The rain swallowed his silhouette, leaving nothing but sirens in the endless, hollow city below. Lila collapsed, sobbing, clutching the USB drive in her hand as the lights closed in. She had lost everyone. Again. But somewhere beneath the grief, something stirred. Not despair this time. Determination. Because if Evan was gone, the truth didn't have to be, and she would make sure everyone paid for the lies that destroyed them. The city was quieter than she remembered. Too quiet. 3 weeks had passed since that night on the rooftop, the night Evan Hale vanished. Lila sat in her apartment with the blinds drawn and the USB drive lying on her table like a loaded weapon. She'd replayed that night in her head hundreds of times. The glass breaking. Colin's scream. The rain swallowing Evan whole. The sound of helicopters fading into the dark. The police called it an accidental fall. They found Colin's body 2 days later in a construction site 5 blocks away. Evans, they never did. Officially, Hale Dynamics had gone silent. Haven Group had distanced itself completely. Rebecca had taken a leave of absence, though Lila knew what that really meant, damage control. But for Lila, None of it was over. She opened the laptop again. The screen glowed pale blue against her sleepless face. She'd spent weeks decoding the files Evan left her, line by line, barely eating, barely breathing. It wasn't just data theft. It was surveillance. Entire branches of Haven and Zenith intertwined in an underground network that traced employee movements, personal messages, even voice calls. And hidden among the logs was a name she never expected to see. Rebecca Hemsley, her mentor, her boss, the woman who once took her under her wing, and the one who'd slept with her boyfriend. Lila stared at the name for a long time, then whispered into the empty room, "Why, Rebecca?" She didn't have an answer, not until her doorbell rang. She froze. It was 2:13 a.m. The bell rang again, longer this time. Lila's pulse hammered. She quietly reached for the pepper spray on her counter and moved to the door. "Who's there?" "Lila, it's me." Rebecca's voice. She hesitated, heart pounding, then unlocked the chain. Rebecca stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, eyes swollen, makeup streaked. "I know I'm the last person you want to see," she said hoarsely, "but we need to talk. Please." Lila stared at her, part fury, part pity. "You should go before I call the police." Rebecca shook her head. "You think they are going to help you? They are part of this." That stopped Lila cold. "What are you talking about?" Rebecca stepped inside, dripping onto the floor. "You think Evan was the only one trying to fight them? No, he was just the only one who didn't sell out. The rest of us did, including me." "Why?" Lila's voice broke. "You already had everything. The promotion, the power. Colin." Rebecca laughed bitterly. "Power? You think I wanted any of this? I was blackmailed. Lila, Zenith had dote on me. On all of us. They made us trade access for silence. Every employee who resisted got erased." Lila's stomach twisted. "Erase?" "Data wipes. Financial disappearances. Some of them literal." She took a shaky breath. Evan tried to stop it. But when he realized the only way to expose Zenith was from inside Haven, he did something reckless. "What?" He staged his own death. The words hit like a thunderclap. Lila stumbled back. "You're lying." Rebecca met her eyes, steady, hollow. "I wish I was. He came to me 2 days before the rooftop incident. Told me he had to make it look real. Said it was the only way to make Zenith believe he was gone." Lila's pulse raced. "You expect me to believe he's alive?" Rebecca reached into her coat and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a photo, grainy, time-stamped 3 days ago. Evan, standing on a dock in Lisbon. Lila's throat closed. "How do you have this?" "He sent it to me. Said to find you. Said you'd know what to do next." Her voice cracked on the last word. Lila sank into the chair, her mind spinning. If this was true, if Evan was alive, then everything changed. Rebecca watched her closely. "You have the drive, don't you?" Lila hesitated. "Why?" "Because it's not just data anymore," Rebecca said. "It's a kill switch. It's what Zenith has been hunting for." Lila's stomach dropped. "Evan didn't tell me that." "He wouldn't," Rebecca said softly, "because he knew if you understood what you were carrying, you'd never stop running." Outside, thunder rumbled. Lila stood, backing away. "You shouldn't be here." Rebecca's eyes flashed. "You don't understand. They already know where you are. They traced the decryption logs. They're coming. Lila." The words barely left her mouth before the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. Lila's breath caught. "Rebecca." A faint whisper. "Run." Then the window shattered. A masked man burst through the glass, night vision lenses glinting green. Lila screamed, ducking as Rebecca shoved her toward the back hallway. "Go! Now!" Gunfire exploded, muffled but deafening. Lila hit the ground, crawling toward the bathroom. The laptop crashed to the floor, sparks flickering. Rebecca's body jerked mid-step, a soft grunt, then silence. "Rebecca!" No answer. Lila's vision blurred through tears. She grabbed the USB from the table and bolted out the back door into the alley, barefoot, rain pelting her face. Behind her, Her apartment burned. She ran until her lungs ached, until she couldn't hear the sirens anymore. Then she ducked into an underpass and collapsed, shaking. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A familiar voice, rough, low, unmistakable. Lila, don't go home again. She couldn't breathe. Evan. A pause. Rain crackled through the speaker. They got Rebecca. I'm sorry. Where are you? Somewhere you can't follow yet. Listen to me. That drive you have, it's more than evidence. It's access. It can shut down everything Zenith built, but it'll expose everyone tied to it. Even you, she whispered. Especially me. Her voice broke. You lied to me again. I had to, but I swear to you, this time I'll make it right. Don't. She started, but the line went dead. The rain poured harder, drowning her voice. Lila stared at the dead phone, her fingers trembling around it. She felt hollow, weightless, and burning all at once. He was alive. He was still lying. And she was right back where she started, caught between the man who betrayed her and the man who saved her by breaking her heart. But now, she wasn't running. This time, she would fight, even if it meant destroying everything left of them both. Lisbon smelled like salt and secrets. The ocean wind pushed through the narrow alleyways of Alfama, carrying the scent of coffee and old stone. Tourists moved like ghosts in the early morning mist, their laughter distant, unimportant. Lila moved among them unnoticed, hood up, eyes shadowed, carrying a worn leather bag that held the USB drive and the last fragments of her sanity. It had been 5 days since Evan's call. 5 days of encrypted messages, burner phones, and ghost trails that all led here, to the docks where the photo Rebecca had given her was taken. 5 days of replaying his voice in her head. Don't go home again. I'll make it right. She wasn't sure which haunted her more, the comfort or the lie in his tone. Now she was following a name he'd once mentioned in passing. Lucia Duarte, a freelance systems engineer who'd worked for Zenith before vanishing from every database 3 years ago. According to Evan's old messages, Lucia was his last contact in Europe, the only person who could finish decrypting the drive. The address led her to a crumbling building near the marina. Rusted signs in Portuguese flapped in the wind. The doorbell didn't work, so she knocked. A woman's voice called from inside. Who is it? Someone who knows Evan Hale, Lila replied. Silence. Then the sound of multiple locks clicking. The door opened a crack. A woman in her 40s stood there, eyes sharp behind wire-frame glasses, hair streaked with silver. You shouldn't have said that name out loud. Lila held up the USB. He sent me. He said you could help. Lucia's gaze flicked to the drive, then back to her. Come in. Quickly. Inside, the apartment looked more like a war room. Cables, monitors, hard drives stacked like ammunition. Lucia shut the door, pulled the curtains tight, and gestured toward a chair. Sit. Tell me everything. Lila did. The fake date, the dinner, Colin, the rooftop, the fire, the call from the dead. She spoke until her voice cracked, until her fingers trembled around a cup of tea Lucia had handed her. When she finished, Lucia exhaled slowly. Is alive, then. You sound surprised. I'm not, Lucia said. Just disappointed. Hale never knows when to quit. You knew him well. Lucia's smile was faint, sad. Better than most. We built Zenith's early architecture together. He was brilliant, reckless, idealistic. Always thought he could fix corruption from within. Turns out corruption fixes you first. Lila frowned. So you left. I ran, Lucia corrected, before they could use me the way they used him. She plugged the USB into her system, fingers flying over the keys. Layers of encryption flickered across the screen. This isn't just data. It's a full control framework, a root-level kill switch that can purge Zenith's global servers. If activated, it will expose everyone, Haven, Zenith, even government backers. Lila's heart pounded. So it can end them. Lucia looked up, eyes dark. It can end everything. Every company, every account tied to their architecture, including yours. Lila blinked. Mine. You work for Haven, Lucia said flatly. You sign digital compliance contracts. Your personal records are part of their net. You trigger this, you vanish. Financially, legally, digitally. Lila's throat went dry. Evan didn't tell me that. He wouldn't, Lucia said softly. He's always been willing to burn himself. He just doesn't mind who else gets caught in the fire. That struck deep. Lila stared at the flickering code, at the lines that held the power to raise entire empires, all lives. What if I don't trigger it? She asked quietly. Lucia hesitated. Then Zenith wins. They'll keep watching, expanding, burying evidence until no one even remembers this existed. Is there another way? There's always another way, Lucia murmured, but it usually costs more. Before Lila could ask what she meant, her phone buzzed, an unknown number again. Her stomach turned. Lucia saw her hesitation. Put it on speaker. Lila did. Lila, Evan's voice came, low, ragged. Are you safe? Her pulse spiked. Where are you? I can't say. Not yet. But I know where you are, and you're not safe there. Lucia leaned closer to the phone. She's safe with me, Hale, unless you plan to change that. A beat of silence. Then Evan's voice hardened. Lucia, still hiding behind screens. I see. You're one to talk, Ghost. Don't touch that drive, Evan warned. It's unstable. The fail-safe triggers a full wipe if tampered with. Lucia rolled her eyes. You always did overbuild your toys. Don't worry. I bypassed your ego hours ago. Lucia. But she hung up. Lila stared at her. What are you doing? He said it's dangerous. Lucia didn't look up. He also said he was dead. You believe everything that man says. Lila's mouth opened, but before she could reply, the screens flickered. Lines of red text blinked rapidly. Unauthorized access detected. Protocol lockdown initiated. Lucia cursed under her breath, typing furiously. He wasn't bluffing. What's happening? Lila cried. The drive self-destruct protocol. It's broadcasting a location ping. Someone's tracing us right now. The lights dimmed. A low hum filled the air, servers overheating. Lucia ripped the drive from the port. We have to move. They rushed down the back staircase into the damp alley, just as a black van turned onto the street. Men in dark tactical gear spilled out, moving fast and silent. Lucia shoved the USB into Lila's hand. Run. What about you? I'll buy you 10 seconds. Maybe 20. Before Lila could protest, Lucia yanked a pipe from the wall and swung it into a nearby transformer box. Sparks exploded, plunging the alley into darkness. The air smelled of burning wires. Lila ran, heart pounding, shoes slipping on wet cobblestones. Shouts echoed behind her, boots striking the pavement. She darted through the maze of alleys until she reached the open street, the ocean glinting under street lights. Then, a car horn. A black sedan screeched to a halt in front of her. The passenger door flew open. Get in. Evan. Lila froze, disbelief flooding her. His hair was shorter, his face thinner, a faint scar cutting across his jaw. But his eyes, those storm-gray eyes, were the same. She hesitated for a single heartbeat. Then she got in. The car roared to life, tires hissing against the rain-slick street. Bullets cracked behind them, shattering glass. Hold on. Evan shouted, swerving into a side street. Lila clutched the seat, breath coming in ragged bursts. You're alive. Barely, he said. And if you want to stay that way, we need to get out of Lisbon. Tonight. She turned to him, tears of fury and relief mixing in her eyes. You lied to me again. I know. You let me think you were dead. I had to, he said, eyes fixed on the road. If they knew you were still connected to me, they would have killed you too. Rebecca is dead, she screamed. Lucia might be next. How many people have to die before you stop protecting me? Evan's jaw clenched, but he didn't answer. Ahead, the highway opened, moonlight reflecting off the asphalt like glass. He finally said, voice low, I didn't come back to save myself, Lila. I came back to finish this. She turned toward him, trembling. And what happens when it's finished? He glanced at her, something breaking in his expression. Then I disappeared for real. They didn't stop driving until the coast turned to desert. By the time dawn broke, they were somewhere in southern Spain, miles of barren land stretching around them. Evan parked a sedan under the shadow of an abandoned service station, windows shattered, roof sagging. The engine ticked as it cooled. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Lila's reflection trembled in the cracked rearview mirror. Salt crusted her lips from the ocean wind, and exhaustion pulsed behind her eyes like a drum. Finally, she whispered, "How many times are you going to die before you tell me the truth?" Evan didn't look at her. His hands rested on the steering wheel, veins tense under his skin. "You wouldn't believe the truth if I told you." "Try me." He laughed softly. No humor, only bitterness. "You remember when we met? You thought I was a janitor." "You were one," she said, "or you let me believe it." "I let everyone believe it," he said. "After my wife died, I walked away from Zenith. I needed a cover, something invisible. So I took a job scrubbing floors at one of the Shell offices. I thought it would keep me off their radar." Lila's chest tightened. "Your wife? Rebecca told me she died in an accident." Evan's voice cracked, almost imperceptibly. "That's what they told me, too, until I found the black box from her car." Lila froze. "What?" He turned to her then, eyes hollow. The data showed a remote override. Her car didn't crash. It was shut down. Zenith killed her because she found out what I was building. A chill rippled through Lila. The control network. He nodded. "Project Aegis. I designed it as an emergency backdoor for cybersecurity, a way to shut down compromised systems. Zenith twisted it into a surveillance tool, capable of rewriting digital identities. They were going to sell it to governments under the table." Her breath came shallow. "So you tried to stop them?" "I leaked parts of the code to regulators under a false identity," he said. "But they traced it. They came for me. For her. That's when I disappeared. Changed my name. Started over." Lila swallowed hard. "And you became the single dad from the community center." Evan's jaw tightened. "My son is real. Lila. Everything else was a lie." Silence settled again, heavier this time, filled with unsaid things. Finally, Lila said, "Why me? Why drag me into this?" "Because you work for Haven," he said simply. "You had access to the subcontracts, the ones Zenith used as cover for laundering data. You were the only person who didn't sign the compliance override." "That doesn't make sense," she said. "I didn't even know." He cut her off gently. "You didn't need to. Your refusal to sign kept you off their grid. That's why they wanted you gone, and why I needed you close." The words landed like stones. "So I was a pawn," she said quietly. "No," he said, turning toward her. "You were the one person I couldn't afford to lose." Her throat ached. "You mean the one person who could help you finish your crusade?" He didn't answer. His silence was worse than a confession. Lila stared out the cracked window, watching sunlight crawl over the horizon. Her tears felt cold. "You used me," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." "Everyone says that," she said, bitter now. "But they still do." Evan leaned forward, elbows on the wheel. "You think I didn't fight it? You think I didn't lie awake every night trying to convince myself to walk away from you before this touched you?" "You could have," she snapped. "You could have let me stay ignorant. Safe." He turned toward her then, eyes fierce. "And leave you working for them, feeding their network without knowing it? No, Lila, you deserve the truth, even if it destroyed you." Something in his voice broke then, the sound of a man stretched past guilt, past anger, into raw despair. She looked at him, really looked, at the dark circles under his eyes, the cuts on his knuckles, the tremor in his hand when he brushed his hair back. This wasn't the arrogant CEO from boardrooms and news features. This was a man unmade by grief and obsession. And yet, somewhere inside her, a part still wanted to believe him. "Evan," she said softly, "did you ever love me? Or was that just strategy, too?" He closed his eyes. "I wish it had been." That hurt more than if he'd said no. Lila turned away, opening the door. Cool morning air rushed in. She stepped out, walking toward the edge of the road, gravel crunching under her shoes. Behind her, Evan followed. "Where are you going?" "Away from you," she said. "You can't." "I can try," she said, spinning on him. "You've had control over everything. The lies, the story, even my choices. I won't let you write this part." He looked at her, and for a heartbeat, she thought he'd let her go. Then he said quietly, "You already triggered the failsafe." Her breath caught. "What?" "When you plugged the USB into Lucia's system," he said, "you initiated the final phase. The data's live. It's copying itself through global nodes. If you walk away now, it finishes without a check, wiping millions of systems, maybe killing people relying on those networks." Her knees went weak. "You mean—" "I need you to come back to Lisbon," he said. "We have one chance to stop it before it cascades." Lila stared at him, at the man who had lied, disappeared, and reappeared wrapped in too many truths. Her heart screamed no. Her conscience whispered yes. "Tell me something first," she said. "If I help you stop it, what happens to us?" Evan's voice was barely audible. "There is no us after this, Lila." He walked back to the car. She stood there for a long time, when clawing at her hair, tears stinging her cheeks. And then she followed him. Hours later, they were back on the road north, the hum of the tires a dull heartbeat between them. Night fell again before they reached the border. Evan's phone vibrated once, then went dead. "What now?" Lila asked. "We find the source node," he said. "Zenith kept a physical backup server somewhere under their main Lisbon hub. If we can reach it, we can stop the chain reaction. And if we can't—" He looked at her, voice steady. "Then the world wakes up tomorrow without Zenith, Haven, or us." She didn't ask if he meant physically gone. She already knew. The night swallowed the car as they crossed back into Portugal, their headlights slicing through the darkness like blades. Neither of them noticed a drone hovering high above, its red light blinking once before vanishing into the clouds. They reached Lisbon before sunrise. The city was ghostly, wet cobblestones reflecting amber streetlights, waves crashing against the harbor like a heartbeat that refused to stop. The same alleys that once felt alive now reeked of loss. Evan parked on a back street near Zenith's abandoned headquarters. The building loomed ahead, glass walls fractured, security lights flickering like dying stars. "This is where it ends," he said. Lila looked at the USB drive clenched in her palm. It felt heavier now, like it carried not just code but every choice she'd made since the day she met him. "Are you sure this will stop it?" she asked. "If we can reach the core terminal and disable the auto-propagation," Evan said, "we can prevent the collapse. And if we can't, then the network wipes itself and us from existence." The quiet between them wasn't peace. It was a sharp inhale before a scream. They moved fast, through broken doors, past flickering security panels. Dust hung in the air, catching the light like falling ash. Somewhere deep inside the building, machinery hummed, alive despite everything. Lila's footsteps echoed behind his. "You know the way." "I built it," he said grimly. They reached a sealed elevator bay. Evan pried open the control panel and crossed a few wires. The doors groaned, sliding open to reveal a narrow shaftlet in pulsing red. "Basement level," he said. "Cores down there." As they descended, Lila's mind spiraled. Flashes of everything she'd felt since meeting him. That first awkward smile in the cafe, the rooftop fire, the lies laid over affection, the tenderness that had always felt too dangerous to touch. And under all of it, the question that had been haunting her. When they reached the bottom, she finally asked it. "Evan, why me?" Not the professional answer. The real one. He froze. The red light carved shadows under his eyes. "Lila, tell me the truth," she demanded. "The whole truth this time." He exhaled. "You won't forgive me." "I already don't." A long silence. Then, "Because you remind me of her." The world seemed to tilt. "Your wife." He nodded once. "She was a data analyst for Haven before Zenith bought them. You were her intern years ago. She used to talk about you, how you questioned everything, how you refused to take shortcuts. After she died, I went through her old records. I found your name. When I saw you working under Haven's new division, I realized you were still there, still fighting in your own way. Lila's stomach turned. So I was a memory, a ghost you chased to feel less guilty. No, he said softly. You were my second chance to do something right. Tears burned her eyes. By lying to me, using me, pretending. I didn't pretend to love you, he said. That was the only honest thing I ever did. The elevator shuddered to a stop. The doors opened onto a cavernous chamber humming with cold light, rows of servers pulsing blue and white. In the center stood a glass console, the heart of the network. Lila wiped her tears and walked toward it. Let's finish this. Evan followed, but his expression was distant, calculating. As she approached the console, the terminal screen flickered awake. Aegis protocol active. Final override required. 2 authorization panels glowed on either side, one for Evan, one for her. He looked at her. We both have to initiate it. She nodded, taking her position. On 3, he said. 1, 2. But when he reached 3, he didn't move. He just stared at her. Evan. His voice broke. You don't understand. If you activate this, it doesn't just stop them. It wipes everything tied to Zenith's network, including your records, your identity. You'll cease to exist in every database. No job, no bank, no past. You'll be gone. She blinked, tears spilling. And you? I'm already gone, he said. But you can still walk away. Something in her chest shattered, the part that still hoped he'd choose her over the mission. She stepped closer, trembling. You're asking me to live knowing I let this continue? Knowing people die because I walked away? He looked at her, eyes full of something between love and apology. I'm asking you to survive. Then she understood. He wasn't planning to walk out of here. He moved to his panel and placed his hand on it. When I start the sequence, the lockdown will seal this room. You will have 10 seconds to reach the elevator. Go north, cross the border again, and disappear. You'll find a new name. No, she whispered. We finished this together. Lila. You told me I reminded you of her, she said fiercely. Then let me die like her, fighting for something real. Evan stared at her, torn open by the weight of it. Then a small, broken smile. You were never supposed to be the brave one. Too late, she said, placing her hand on her panel. The system beeped. Override sequence initiated. Confirm? Evan's voice was steady now. Together. Together. They pressed their palms. The room erupted in white light. Servers screamed as code tore through them, a digital storm devouring itself. Sparks flew, alarms blared, the floor shook under their feet. Through it all, Lila held his gaze. No more lies. No more pretending. Just truth, raw, burning, and fleeting. Evan, she said, her voice breaking, what happens now? He smiled faintly. Now, we get to stop running. The light swallowed everything. When she opened her eyes, there was silence. Dust drifted through the air like ash after fire. The servers were dead, black, lifeless. Evan lay a few feet away, his hand still reaching toward the console. Lila crawled to him, shaking, heart hammering. Evan, please. His chest barely moved. You did it, he whispered. You stopped them. She pressed her forehead against his, sobbing. Stay with me. He smiled, weakly. You'll build something better. And then, nothing. The hum of the world faded into static. Lila stayed there for what felt like hours, her tears staining the cold floor. When she finally stood, dawn light had begun to seep through the cracks in the ceiling. The city outside was waking up, unaware that its invisible masters were gone. She walked out of the building, the sun rising behind her, the USB drive still warm in her pocket, the last piece of a man who'd lied, loved, and died trying to make it right. By noon, news channels buzzed, global outages, data erasures, digital resets. Haven, Zenith, all of it, gone. To the world, it looked like a system crash. To her, it was justice. She vanished that day, just as he said she would. No trace, no record, only whispers of a woman seen on a train heading east, wearing a gray coat and carrying nothing but an old photograph. On the back of it, a note in fading ink. For once, I didn't have to pretend.